right, what is going on, Predators? Today we are talking to Dean. We're just going to be doing a recap of our 2023 and, going into 2024 and what we've done, what we've got accomplished this year, and what we're going to change going on into the future. And so I'm so excited to talk to Dean because, man, I feel like, we've both been so busy. We haven't even caught up in a long time. So how you been, brother?
I've been doing good, man. How about you?
Oh, just trying to live the dream one day at a time, I guess.
I'm telling you, the holidays, hunting, like everything just got completely out of control. But it ended up to be a great season, I think, anyway. But yeah, I missed touching base with you, but it is what it is, back on track, and season's coming to an end, so it's time to get back on the tubes, So
yeah, man, there's a lot of good things that have happened this year. And like I say, sometimes with everything that's going on in the world and everything that's going on in life, it's hard to keep track of that. And so that's one thing I want to, keep track of. I know I've gotten some, nice little endorsements here this year. We've gotten some new gear, bought some new things. And it's just everything's, like I say, when you really could take the good with the bad, balance it all out, it's been a really good year.
100%.
First thing I wanted to mention too is this mic that I'm using today is from a company called TZ Audio as the Stellar X V3. This thing is amazing. I think the audio quality is great. See, I got my old guitar back there. I've been practicing with that, and it sounds great. So this whole thing will be recorded on the Stellar X3, and just let me know what you guys think about the audio today. So. With that, Dean, you've done some. We've both done some hunts this year. So first of all, we had our elk hunt back in September.
Yeah. So how what'd you think? That was your kind of the first one out, and we haven't done a show since then, I don't think. So well, real quick plug too, since you're talking about the microphone, I also am trying the new microphone, the Insta 360 4K, which is kind of cool. Still playing with it, but it's got a follow me feature, what I haven't quite figured it out yet. But anyway, so hopefully I won't be on the witness protection program anymore if this works and the Wi-Fi stays connected. We should be good to go. But anyway,
we've had some rough ones in the past, but yeah, we're looking forward to the future, man.
right. It's only going to get better, right?
That's right.
So anyway, so back to the elk hunt, man. So there was a lot of things. One that we learned that I'd love to touch base on. But more importantly, kind of get your take on it. First one out, what'd you think? What'd you learn? Just from mainly since we kind of started off with we talked about a little bit of diet and fitness, that particular portion of it. And then we can kind of move on to our Onyx and how we both had issues, not with on X so much, but what we figured out with our phones and vinyl harnesses.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, one of the big things I learned this year was that you can never be too prepared for all these things. I'm a very I'm a very athletic guy. Like I say, I'm very strong. But I think one of the things I found was just something I've struggled with honestly my whole life is just the endurance, the muscle endurance, and the cardio endurance is a big part of it. And I was actually doing really good up until the last day. I think it was the second to last day when we did that hike up towards Thompson's Peak up there in Utah. And I was on the struggle bus. I think all of us were on the struggle bus. Chris is little skinny ass. So he was just like leaving us behind, But, it was a combination of things. One was my diet. I was trying to be really strict on the carnivore diet, and I think there's things that I definitely could have been done way better there to get myself more calories. Because in the long run, what ended up happening was I ended up in a severe calorie deficit. We're at the point where I was just exhausted and I was literally just throwing everything out of my body just to make it up the mountain. And the real thing, like I said, that led to exhaustion, which put me on the borderline of having hypothermia, which I got to say, you and Chris came in clutch on that, because I was at a point where I was like, guys, I got to go get my sleeping bag, put dry clothes on, because I could not warm up. Even after eating a hot meal, I couldn't warm up. And so without you guys, so I say how badass these two guys are. Chris and Dean hiked about another quarter of a mile after hiking up a 1,600 foot elevation gain, straight up a mountain almost. After that, they went and they hiked another quarter of a mile to go grab some water of an elk wallow or something and boil that stuff up, throw it in my bag, put it in my Nalgene, so that way I had something warm to heat me back up. And I say within minutes, I was feeling a million times better. So
And then to cap it off, so it was we had a little break in rain, and that's what started our hike off. Is we got about a half mile in, and the clouds opened, and it just dumped on us all the way up. Well, in the midst of all of that, just to make matters a little bit more challenging, once we got there, I forgot that I did not grab my tent out of the truck. So all we had was Travis's tarp, thank
yep.
God. And so we have this one man tarp that we had got it out as far as we possibly could. So Travis is kind of going through his deal. Not a big deal. We got everything kind of situated, kind of got him warmed up. It's finally time to crash out. I crawl in. It's still raining. Temperature's dropping, and then bloop bloop. There was no no. The tarp was not
Yes.
seam taped. So
Exactly.
here we go with water dripping on us, and got our dry bags out, put them on our feet to keep our feet dry because our sleeping bags were getting wetted out. And so there's always a challenge. It's always fun. I love those portions of the hunt.
Yeah.
Me personally,
There's so many lessons to be learned. So speaking of that, I had the Seek Outside Eolus as a 2-man, well, supposedly 2-man. I always say it's like 1 man in his gear kind of tent.
Mhm.
And it's where you erect it with the hiking poles and everything. And it worked fine. But one thing I found out was that whenever you buy this on Black Ovis, they didn't actually say on there specifically, oh, by the way, you have to use that tube of weathers, the seam seal in there, or else it's completely not watertight. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened from the very top where the seams were, and on the sides, like I say, it started dripping and dripping and dripping. But even saying that, though, it still held up pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Thankfully,
Good.
although Dean forgot his tent, he did bring his rain fly, and so we threw that on top for a little bit of extra protection.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I'm not actually sure how that whole scenario panned out, how I kept my fly and not my tent, but it is what it is, I guess.
Exactly.
you know,
It's just some
but
amazing lessons to be learned, man.
amazing lessons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but outside of that, I think, the fitness side of it, you had did a really good breakdown on your channel about the carnivore diet and going into the backcountry. So 24, what are you going to kind of attack it a little different route, like going into it, like starting adding carbs like a couple months beforehand, or just pack carbs when you go, or how you gonna approach that this year?
So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to bring something that like there's on that video. I got several great recommendations from people that were listeners that said that there's ways to still stay on the diet. And which, again, I'm not 100% carnivore. I'm not a lion diet guy. I'm not eating just meat and salt and water. You know what I mean? I'm still eating a
Mhm.
variety of things. But I'm about 90% carnivore. But like I say, one of the ways they could do it is if you packed smoked cheese, because smoked cheese will actually give you more calories, and it's got per ounce, and it's also got some carbohydrates in there as well. And that's one thing I'm going to bring. But I'm also going to bring more kind of an emergency, like I need carbohydrates right now kind of things.
Mhm.
I started working with First Form recently, and they actually have one that is a carbohydrate drink mix that has almost no flavor, but says you could just add a scoop of that into your water right before you go on a hike or excursion or something like that. That gives you just those raw carbohydrates you need for an endurance activity, like hiking 1,600 feet in elevation up a mile length, in a
Right.
short period of time on the like fourth day of 7 or 6 day hunt. So
So do they come in like travel packs, or do you have to? Or are you just
uh
gonna pre measure them out and put them in Ziploc bags or something?
yeah, so I got like these little tubs. I can take this little screw on lid thing, and you can just put a few scoops in there, and it's got like basically turns into a funnel. You just unscrew the top, you can pour it in there,
Oh yeah,
pour it
yeah.
in the water and stuff like that. Yeah.
I got you. I
So
got you.
yep, I want to bring those with me, and like I say, it's just a scooper thing. But yeah, like I said, it seems like something that will really help. I'm going to give that a try and see how that works. And also, like I said, just bring in more emergency stuff. Like one thing that like looked so delicious whenever I was on the trail there, I was looking at Chris's stuff, and he had almond butter and those little honey stinger waffle things. Oh my god,
Yeah, that's
I,
the
wa- I was
best.
like, I was like, that would be like basically like a hit of crack right now if I
Yeah,
had some of that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Those are the best.
yeah, it's quick quick carbs, quick energy, and something you can really use. And then, like I say, I'm going to bring in something like this too. This is I got these protein sticks from First Form too. Like I said, just something to help supplement that. It's still carnivore, and like I say, I can keep on that, and it's pretty lightweight, easy to pack, good protein. Still has some carbohydrates in there, so not too heavy, but enough to really keep my fuel going, and try to bring more a variety of things too, because that was one of the things I got into was having the same thing every day got really old. And I tried to cook it two different ways. I tried to do the pemmican thing, and it worked out okay. But the problems I had with that is I didn't have a food processor that could grind up fine enough, so it was kind of mealy. Whereas if I got it down to a powder, it would have been like eating a chunk of beef jerky or something like that. But mine was a little bit more mealy, and so it wasn't very appetizing. I took a note from Cliff Gray's book. He said that, oh yeah, you just take that and you just boil it in some water, and then you end up with like a beef stew. And it's like, I tried that. It was, hey Cliff, man, I love you, but that was not. I was choking that down. Like all the fat came out of the meat, whenever out of the pemmican when I did that, and then basically I ended up with like a weak saltless beef stew with like chunks of like rocky meat at the bottom. Not my best.
I wonder if you if you vacuum sealed that and do almost like a sous vide, heated it
Ooh.
up, leave it in the vacuum pack, dumped it in your water, and heated it to temp, and then heated it out. I wonder if that would be a better option.
That's worth a shot, man. Because I actually do have a sous vide machine. I bought like around Christmas time or so, and I've used it one time to cook some steaks, and it's like, well, this is a lot of work for a steak. I can just throw it on the grill and then bring it inside, and finish with some butter, and a million. But everybody's like, oh no, you got to do it right. You got to do it with the sous vide. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have like 8 hours to spend waiting on a steak.
Right. Well, you figure like your MSR burner though would be pretty rapid with that little bit. I wouldn't think it would take just a couple minutes for it to heat up, right? Like you're not cooking it, you're just heating it.
Right. You
But
heat it back up.
but it's funny, it's funny you bring up the sous vide, because I was literally looking at one last night because of those buffalo steaks, which we can talk about that hunt too. And how to prepare those because it's so lean. My middle son took some home and he said, dude, they were like leather. I overcooked them. It was terrible. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that, And so I thought about doing sous vide them and then searing them and then put like garlic butter or something along that lines on them too. So anyway, the point is I was looking at sous vide, but it was like an hour and a half to like cook the steak. I don't want to wait that long. There's got to be an easier way to do this. So I'll but still doing some research on the steaks and tomahawks. But anyway, that's funny.
Yeah. So that's a good segue there. So go ahead and roll into your buffalo hunt, man. Tell us all about that.
So apparently this is, first of all, my first one. And I had been wanting to do a buffalo hunt forever. And I wanted to go, like to one of the Dakotas or something along that lines, but it just did not fit in my budget. So of course, here in Texas, you can find whatever you want on a high fence ranch for the most part. So I just was Googling around and I found a place that was only about an hour from here, less than an hour, maybe 45 minutes. It's a little ranch called DB Outfitters. And I guess October, most of the ranches had the female buffaloes, I guess on sale, if you want to call it that. I don't know if they're getting rid of the older ones, if it's population thing. I have no idea, but across the board, they were much more reasonably priced. And because I'm not a trophy hunter, I didn't care about getting the biggest, bull or whatever on the place. I'm like, look, I literally want to meat hunt. I don't care if it's a male or female. It is what it is. And so that being said, like I said, it was a reasonable price. So I went out, and again, it was a high fence ranch, which I'm not a huge fan of. However, kind of talked to, you and a couple of the guys about it. And they were like, look, if you're doing a meat hunt, you don't say, oh, I tracked this thing across North Dakota for, 14 days straight and crawled on my knees for a half a mile, all that stuff, like make up some, jacked up story. Like that's what they're kind of designed for. So that I decided to go for it. So it basically, it's a ranch that's in Oatmeal, Texas. They had 4 buffalo there. and it's dealer's choice. They're all the same price. And so we did a spot and stock on them, which was very cool. But if you haven't hunted in Texas before, it's very thick with cedars and mesquites, and so your shot is threading a needle essentially. I mean, it's very difficult to kind of get through, all those branches and sticks, and you're on your knees most of the time. But I was able to get in within 18 yards of them. And like I said, there was 4. And so at that point, I made a decision. The first one that A, gave me a shot, and 2, that was broadside, was the one I was going to go ahead and take the shot at. That one turned out to be the one in the back of the 4. And so, like I said, it was 18 yards. I used the crafted archery setup with the tough head 3-blade broadheads, and because I wanted to test those out, and it was a perfect shot. This broadside, I mean, smoked a complete pass through. What I didn't realize was that they're like pack animals, I guess. But as soon as I hit it, it kind of wobbled a little bit. But the other 3 almost sensed that something had happened, and so they surrounded her and was looking in my direction. And so here I am. I have no sidearm. I got 2 arrows left, and that's all I have, and my camera, right? And I'm like, great. So I just sat down behind a cedar tree, which felt like hours. It probably was only 25 minutes with this stare down with these 3 buffalo. Well, they started to leave, and I seen the one I hit, got back up, and she's trailing the other 3. And then she kind of turns left to go back into some thicker brush. And I thought, okay, well, she's going to go die, like no big deal. And so I got out, was kind of trailing her, at a distance. And I was about, I don't know, 100 yards away. And the other 3 turned around and started walking back at me again. So I thought, well, this ain't good, right? So I go back into the thick stuff, sit back down, waited it out. They finally meandered off. And then I tracked her, and then had to call, of course, the ranch owner, and they brought out a skid steer and took it out. But it was like my 15 minutes of fame, because I put it on my trailer and was taking it to the processor, and I had to stop and get ice because it was like 70 degrees out that day. And so I'm running into this little Shell station, and I'm getting like 10 bags of ice and like put it in the cavity to like get to the processor. And everybody and their brother decided to stop in this little town at this one Chevron, and they're out and they're taking pictures. They're like, oh my God, it's like so cool. They're like on my trailer. They're like taking pictures, like, where'd you shoot it at? And I'm kind of telling them, and I'm trying to be nice, but at the same time, I'm like, I need to kind of go, man. Like, I don't want to like ruin my meet. Like, take some pictures. That's cool. But like, I got to roll, man. And so they finally get out. They're like, oh, congratulations, a bunch of high fives, much whatever. And I took off to the processor. And so it ended up to be a little over 900 pounds, which is on, I think, the smaller end of female buffalo, not by much, but a little smaller. But I yielded close to 400 pounds of meat. And so it was, when I go to the same processor, Hunter's Creek. If anybody is looking for a great processor in Texas, that's literally the only place to go. They're awesome. It's family run. Whatever you bring in, they do 1 deer at a time, 1 pig at a time. So you get your harvest you're getting back, which is amazing. Right. And so, yeah, it's super important. And they just do a great job. And it's a la carte. He says, well, what do you want out of it? I go, well, unlucky for you, I watched the Bearded Butchers on how to do a buffalo. So like, I literally pulled out my phone. It was like, I want all of this, And so he's like, okay, no problem. I want this. And so within, I think, less than a week, he called and he was like, dude, it's all done. And you're ready to rock and roll. And I mean, just a ton of feet, filled the freezer, and which was a good thing. Because if we had gotten an elk, I would be buying another freezer, I guess. I don't know what would have happened, but it completely filled up my upright. So it was well worth it. I'm happy I did it. Would totally do it again as a meat hunt. I don't think that I would do any other exotics there. That's just, I think, they had elk, they've got like some Sitka deer. They've had some Dall sheep that were out there, but I think from for me, I don't know that I would go there for that, but for the buffalo, for pigs, I would definitely go back there again. So
Yeah, that's cool, man. Like I
yeah,
said, always filling the freezer is always the most important part for me too. It's like, the antlers or the rack or the whatever it is, is always one thing. But like I think every deer has its own kind of trophies, and it's like the fact that you can respect and live that animal. Like I like to keep the hides of the bucks I shoot. I
yeah,
almost like the hide more than I care for the antlers. I mean, it's like the antlers like just show, okay, well, this was the big, prince of the forest kind of thing or whatever. But like you can't tell necessarily is how big they were by the hide, how big their antlers were by the hide. But the hide is something really cool that shows. Again, I show that it's not necessarily like a trophy, but for me, it's like to remember that animal by, to remember that hunt by, and
yeah,
yeah, I'm not demonizing trophy hunters because hey, if you want to go do that, that's great. As long as you
yeah,
keep the
yeah,
meat, as long as you're keeping the meat too, you're not just shooting it just for the horns, right? I don't think
right.
there's really, I don't know any hunters that actually do that. You know what I mean? Like
No,
just shoot for the horns. It's like, somebody could argue about like, African hunting and things like that. And it's like, well, you don't get to really keep the meat because they have laws where you can't ship it out of the country, but the meat still goes to use. The meat goes to, local tribes, or it goes to,
yeah,
people that feed other, it does never goes to waste, and I
yeah,
think that's a
yeah.
big misconception about that. But yeah, first of
I agree.
all, most important thing is
Yeah,
definitely the meat in the freezer. So
yeah. Well,
you
and I
also
think
went, go ahead.
yeah, oh, I think that just to honor the animal too, I think is important. So, with that being said, I am getting the hide tanned, and I did get a shoulder mount mainly because it was my first one. So it's look really cool on the wall.
Mhm. Yeah, oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I think that part of that, for me is kind of honoring that animal too. That was essentially gave up his life for you and your family. So I think that's important as well. So
100%, 100%.
yeah.
The also you went was it duck hunting or geese hunting recently, or
Yeah, yeah. So my duck season, unlike my whitetail, I did not get a whitetail this year,
me either?
um, which I think, kind of across the board, it seemed like a odd year for everybody. I go to Michigan for whitetail, um, and it was it's always a great trip because it's buddies of mine that we go every year. The guy that allows us to hunt on his property, we'll give him like a day full of labor as a thank you. And there's always some different jobs like this. Last year we flew up and we tapped all his trees, and I learned how to do maple syrup. What I thought that was amazing. So to kind of see that whole process from tapping the tree to putting it through the boiler and coming out and like bringing maple syrup home was like amazing.
Mm.
And so this year was kind of odd. There was only I didn't get any. My buddy's dad got one doe, and that was it, which is really strange. Usually we all come home with something. But I will say one of the things I learned was in Michigan, you can't shoot a rifled round. And so for the past years, I've gone up and I've used shotgun slugs. Um, this year, I decided to get a 350 Legend. And so I picked up one, put it together, got it sighted in. I went up and had a doe dead to rights at like, I think it was 98 yards. And it was towards the end of shooting light, which seems like for me always happens, right? I got 15 minutes to
Right.
smash one, right? And had it lined up, crosshairs on her, click, nothing happened. I didn't know what happened. So I racked another round and she never moved, didn't hear me, click again. Well, a buck came out of the woods and they ran directly in front of me to, it was probably 106 yards, but like straight out. The grass was a little taller and another doe was popping up that looked bigger. And I thought, I'm going to wait for this bigger doe to come out and I'm going to harvest her. So I took my magazine out, ejected it, thinking, I don't know what's going on, put it back in, re-racked another one. And at that point, they had heard me or whatever and like had taken off. But I was looking at my rounds afterwards, after I was like done yelling and, everything else that I missed a shot. I'm looking around. I had dimples on my primers. And I was like, what is going on? So luckily, the guy I hunt with is ex-military guy. And we went back and we were talking about it. and he tore it all apart. And with me sighting it in, there was enough carbon on my firing pin that stopped it from making full contact.
Wow.
It was just like 5 or 6 rounds from me sighting, and it was just enough buildup on that pin. And so, lesson learned, like every other time I go somewhere, we go somewhere, you're always learning constantly. Clean your damn gun before you go somewhere else. I would have never ever thought at 5 rounds would have built up enough to make that pin, make that firing pin not make full contact. So that was my Michigan hunt.
The same thing happened to me last year. I was using a old pump action 30-06 that my granddad had given me a long time ago, and what I had happen was whenever I had locked the round in there, I went and I pushed it forward. It didn't go all the way into battery, so the what do you call that thing? Basically, it twists up and kind of goes into like a lockup there to hold it in place. Well, when the action didn't completely close, I went into the same thing. It was click, and it wouldn't shoot. I'm like, what the heck? So then, it was a pump action though, so I had to pull that thing back as quiet as I could. And then I tried to slide it forward without making too much noise, and I couldn't really slam it forward. And so again, it wouldn't go completely into lockup. And it was just, all it was it was fucking cold outside, and I hadn't properly lubed up the action, so everything had a lot of friction. And so whenever I slid the slide forward, again, it wasn't going all the way up into lockup, and so it wouldn't actually fire the round. And by the time I was like, okay, I just really got to make a go at this and just rack one in there real hard. And sure enough, I was like, cha-cha, and then the dog ran off. I'm like, son of a bitch. That was my last year's hunting experience with a rifle. The one time I went hunting with a rifle, I couldn't make it happen. So,
oh, that's funny. I mean, it's funny now, but it's not funny at the time, right? And but yeah, so my outside of that, I love duck hunting anyway. So all of my duck hunts, I think, ended up and did 9 or 10 this year. All were successful. The funniest one was out in Corsicana. It was my first one out, and my middle son went with me. And it's the Foul Boys that are out there, and great guys. Those guys they're amazing. If you ever get a chance to go to Corsicana and hunt with them, they're hysterical. They're good dudes. It's a DU wetland, which is even better. But we get out, and sun's coming up. Ducks are slow, but they're coming in, and we're having a good morning. And he hammers a mallard, and of course they run out, they pick it up, they bring it back, and it's not quite dead yet, but it looks like somebody had hit him in a damn head, like with a hammer. Right? He's just like kind of trying to hold his head up. Right? He's got this BB in his forehead, and he's kind of holding his head up. We're like, "Are you gonna mount it?" He's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, don't wring its neck." Or, and so he's like, "What do I do?" And I go, "Choke him out," And so he's like trying to choke this stupid thing. It goes limp. So he puts him in his bag. We don't think anything of it. We hunt away, get a couple more birds. The morning's over. So we're like, all right, we're gonna roll back. And this dude is like, bloop, he's back up, and he's like, his head's up again, like he did not want to go down. He's like in his blind bag, like ride, like he's smiling for pictures or something. It was the craziest thing, but it was like so funny, man. But tough little dude. He just didn't want it to be his ending day, I guess. But but anyway, so that was a great hunt. And then of course Kansas was always fun. The skiing outfitters up there, those guys are amazing. And I took one of the buffalo shoulder roasts with me up there for everybody to kind of have some, and their cook made it, and it turned out just awesome. So we had that for one of the dinners, and cruised out, and had a great time. Again, the ducks were flying on the first day. The second day we did a pheasant hunt, which was great, and tons of places to go, so you're never bored. And those guys really take a good care of you. And then the other one that was really good was up at Dirty Texas Outfitters in Capital City, which is out towards Abilene, and just smoked the sandhill crane. 2 days, limited out, both days, field hunts, and just amazing. Again, amazing group of people. I mean, they couldn't have been nicer, and had a lot of fun. That was my second sandhill crane hunt. First time to ever harvest any. And again, lessons learned. And so I love Bosch shotgun shells, and those things are they're just hammer. My Benelli loves them, but the Sandhill Crane are a little bit further out than ducks are, so your shots are obviously a bit further. It was really windy because they're out in Abilene, right? There's nothing to block your wind,
Mhm.
and so I, kind of was talking to a couple of the crew that was out there, and I'm gonna get a extended choke to be able to reach out a little bit further.
Yeah.
So that was my lesson with Sandhill Crane was pick up an extended choke for those 50 or 60-yard shots. Those were I had to really it was on the struggle bus with a few of them. I had to wait for a couple of them to come in really, really close. And of course, there's a bunch of guys, right? And so, they'd shoot and they'd, kind of spin or whatever. So I wasn't the first one to take a shot. I was almost like the second or third guy to get that last one that was really, really close that was coming in.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, so that was a good lesson learned on that. So I'll be prepared next year, and it's always just being out there like anything else is always a great time. I'd rather be there than in the office. So
Oh,
good,
100%.
good, good, good duck season this year for sure. For sure.
Have you gotten to eat any of the Sandhill Crane yet, or?
Oh yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. Came home and they are 100% ribeye. My wife
Wow.
was asking how to prepare it, and I said just however you would normally season a ribeye steak. That's exactly what we're going to do. Cooked them medium rare, and they're huge. They're probably a little bit bigger than a chicken breast,
Mhm.
and as thick, if not thicker, than a chicken
Wow.
breast. And they
Damn.
tasted exactly like a ribeye.
Heck yeah.
So it was delicious, man. So we grilled them that night, and then she chopped them up the next day and made kind of a little kind of rice and something. I don't know. She called something rice and broccoli and steak,
Mhm.
whatever. But it's always healthy and delicious. And when you can eat what you kill, it tastes even better. So
Oh,
it's
100%.
good
It's
stuff.
just so
Good
much
stuff.
more rewarding, and that's just like I feel like more energized when I eat that kind of meat whenever it's something I've harvested myself, It's
Yeah.
like it's totally different experience if you've never tried it.
Yeah. How about yours, man? What did you get? You said you didn't get a whitetail, but did you get out and sit at all, or
Yeah,
just
so I
quiet?
got out. I got to sit a couple times, just over at my dad's property, and the thing I got some good deer watching in, but the thing I always look at is whenever I'm bow hunting, it's like I've got this, like by the time it's all said and done, like about $30 arrow in my quiver, in my bow, ready to go, and then these deer that are there in Central Texas are like, I mean, they're like a size of like a big rabbit or something, And so it's like if I
Yeah.
want to launch this arrow at it and like the possibility of it breaking on something, I want more than like 15 pounds of meat. It's like
Right.
they're so
Right.
small, and it's like maybe if I could line them up where I can get like a double shot, because I have like last time I shot one, I think it went through the deer and it went like another 30 yards past the deer. So I could literally put one arrow, and with my 80-pound bow, I could literally put one arrow through two deer if I wanted to. So, but no,
Right.
seriously though, it's like I just had to make that choice, and I didn't see any big animals this time. I think the herd is kind of still recovering from that snowmageddon that we had in
Yeah.
the past, and so I was
Yeah.
hoping to see that we would have fewer, more high quality deer out there. But what I ended up seeing was just all of a sudden they just repopulated again. They just had more and more and more, and
Mm.
so that's one place where Central Texas area in general is one place where you almost can't shoot enough deer because they're just going to get smaller and smaller because they have fewer resources to go between more deer. And there's literally, I remember one time driving on it's like a 15-minute drive from 87 to where my dad's ranch is, going out of Fredericksburg there. And on that one, like 15-minute, like winding road through the hills there, we saw 45 deer on the side of the road. That's not including what's out in the fields and
Wow.
stuff like that. And it's just like they're almost gotten to the point where they're just like a pest. The farmers hate them. They're eating up their crops and stuff. And it's just, you almost can't shoot enough. It's
Wow. Wow.
pretty insane. But then again, if I had my rifle, yeah, I probably would have shot more. And I think I might go, and I'm trying to do it backwards. Usually what I'll do is I'll go out with my bow first and I'll try to get something. And if I end up with tags in my pocket, then I'll try to use a rifle to just make sure I don't empty or, eat tag soup, I guess you'd say.
Hmm.
But now I think I'm going to try the opposite thing where I'm going to go until I have like one good buck tag left and one go tag left, and I'm just going to try to go bow hunt those, so I save my arrows and stuff like that.
Sure.
Because like I said, I just don't want to. I'm tired of eating tag soup when it comes to those, but also at the same time, it's I'm still going. I tried to go out saddle hunting this year too, but again, I just between work and everything else going on in my life, I just couldn't find time, and it really sucks. I've got this product from oh god, what's his name? This guy gave me an aider, Ultimator.
Hmm.
There you go. So the guy from Ultimator gave me this Ultimator to try out. I think it was almost 2 years ago now, but I literally have not been up in my saddle in like 2 years, 2 seasons, 2 deer seasons, to get up there and actually try it out. And I feel bad because I'm always like, oh, I could go this day and go out there in the woods, and then like all of a sudden I'll get a call from the office and they're like, oh, by the way, we need you to be in freaking Kansas, or we need you to be in Missouri next week. I'm like, oh god. So
Right.
that's been my
Yeah.
entire hunting season this past year. It's like I got 2 chances to get out in the woods, and that was it. Other than that, I really honestly haven't been hunting at all since we went elk hunting. So shame.
We did that pig hunt with that buddy of mine just bought a bow. I said, let's go out and do a pig hunt, and so we went out and he got himself his first bow kill. Pig was 152 pounds, I think, at like
Shit.
30 yards. Yeah, man, and he was just ecstatic, and so that was like really cool. Just a reminder of when you kind of take somebody else out and make sure that they're successful, like how rewarding that is to kind of see somebody else break in and smoke something, so that was a lot of fun for that week. That the pig that I ended up and harvested was like 170 something, and I had to put I think 3 arrows in that dude. And he literally did not want to die, and he had arrows sticking out everywhere. And the very last shot we had, we were on the mule and trying to track him down, and he come barreling out of like a bunch of these deadfall and like rammed the side of the mule. I thought he was going to jump in the damn seat, like I'm jumping out of the seat. And the driver's, the old guy, he's like jumping on top of the roof of it, and I thought, God, this thing is going to like completely jump in the back seat of this thing. But he smashed it and it just turned left and kept on going. But that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Damn pincushion coming out at you, like, what the hell's that?
They are insane how much damage they can take. I remember when I posted that video of me, you, and Chris going hog hunting. It was like Chris had that one where he put 3 hours. Like the first shot wasn't a great shot. The second shot was pretty damn good. Like it was through at least one of the lungs, and then the third one is like, it finally like went. I think it went up through the ass and hit the liver and the lungs and everything. But it was just like, man, that thing did not want to die, man.
You don't want to die.
They're like little tanks.
Well, and it was funny too because when we got back and we were field dressing it, I couldn't find my arrow. The first one hit him behind the shoulder. I thought it was a great shot. Hit him behind one shoulder and then hit the opposing side. So it was like sticking out. Of course, it broke off from him running around. Second one had a complete pass through, and the third one that finally dropped him, I got him again. Finally hit both lungs. I don't know if I hit anything else or not, but it was another pass through, and he finally dropped. But when we took him back and was field dressing it, I couldn't find the rest of my arrow, and I thought, man, it was sticking out of him. I know it was. Like I saw him run off. I had a lighted knock on it. Couldn't find that. But as we're field dressing him, we find this that is in just right kind of behind his scapula. So this much portion of it was sticking out of his opposing scap, no broadhead. And I was like, dude, where is that broadhead at? And I'd never seen that before either. And so we never could find it. We looked through the hide, we looked everywhere. So it either fell out in the gut pile or something, but it was just so bizarre that the head was gone, which was probably the weirdest thing that happened to me this year. I don't know if it unscrewed when it was going through. I have no idea, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do moving forward. I was thinking, if I don't want that to ever happen again. So I reached out to the ranch fair and asked him if he'd ever seen anything like that. And he said no, but he uses plumber's tape. on his threads.
Mm.
And I was like, that's probably not a bad idea. Maybe just to maybe do that. But
Yeah, that's
I've
good.
never had that happen before. So
Yeah, you could also
is
use
it?
like some blue Loctite. It's kind of like a temporary fixation for it. That would also work too. I've never
Yeah.
even thought about needing to do that, but I guess it makes sense if you've got that much torque, especially if you hit like a bone or something like that. If you get that much torque,
Yeah.
going through an animal like that that's so thick and so durable,
Hmm.
would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It was crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy. But
So yeah.
anyway, so what about did you get a chance to try any you said you didn't go out a whole lot, but did you get any new gear to play with or anything you
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to you
I've
tried out?
actually I've actually got several things here I'm working on, and so the first thing I wanted to show is my good old fashioned bow that I've had forever. This is the Prime Inline 5. I've been shooting this for almost 2 years now, and it's been a great bow. You see, I'm even wearing that Prime hat there, but just got something that I'm going to do a video here about pretty soon. I went over to the dark side, and kind of officially have to do this now. Yep.
Nice.
So I ended up picking up this right here. This is the Matthews Lift 33. Got that dialed
Badass.
archery sight on there. And yeah, so far, man, it's been an insane shooter. And right now it's running to 70 pounds because the bow shop at West Houston Archery didn't have the 80-pound mods in yet. Apparently, I'd also ordered it with the Matthews, what do they call it? The fade to black from the evade or the green, flat green to phase to black. But those, they said literally like they probably won't be coming in until April. I was like, well, I'll just take the regular evade then. So, but he was waiting for the 80-pound mods, but it has been awesome to shoot. And I really forgotten because my old bow, my Martin Max 33 was a also sub 4 pound. It was like 3.8, 3.9 pounds aluminum bow. It was great. But I've forgotten how much more balance you can get by starting from a very light bow and then adding weights just to the stabilizers. And so like Prime, it's been an amazing bow. And I almost honestly, it's so balanced. I almost don't need stabilizers on it, but I tried to get some long stabilizers out there and kind of make it even more stable, and it helped. But shooting the lift here, it's been amazing. I was like shocked. Like I thought I'd gone deaf or something because it was so damn quiet.
Wow.
It's quieter than any bow ever, which again, I always thought that half of Matthews stuff is just marketing. It's, hey, they really good marketing team. Their bow's just another bow and all this stuff. And actually, I shot the what was the last one, V3X, and I thought it was good. I thought it wasn't bad at all. I didn't shoot the face for it all, but I was like, it's not bad. Like, okay, so I didn't like how top heavy it was and all this stuff. This thing again is so damn light. It's absolutely insane, but it feels so sturdy in the hand, and it's like the quietest bow I've ever shot.
Wow.
So, but I'm going to be doing a review on that soon. Switch to from the Hamsky over to the QAD Ultra Rest, and I'm loving that. Well, like, so one thing that was a struggle on our elk hunt was, whenever I got a arrow and we're up there hunting, and I want an arrow to sit up here, I have to hold it with my finger, while
Right.
we're walking through the woods, constantly having to hold it down. And that was just because it was, like I say, always flopping around and stuff like that. So now with this, having the Ultra Rest on there, like I say, I can just keep it flipped up like that. And I'd had an Ultra Rest on my Matthews at one point in time, or sorry, my Martin at one point in time. But just having this completely contained like that, I don't have to jack with it. That's been huge. And it's little things like that that you learn, those lessons you learn whenever you finally go elk hunting for the first time, even if you weren't technically successful. That's a really important thing, like I said, to have that containment on there.
And did you ever, with the Hamsky being limb driven, was it ever a concern catching that cord on anything, even prior to the elk hunt, just in general?
I never really had a big concern with it, but if there was a cord on that bow that I was going to catch something on, it was definitely going to be that one because it sticks out. I mean, you can see it sticks out a little way, so there it is right there. I mean, it sticks out considerably more from the bow than anything else. And yeah, it just seems like if I was going to catch it on brush, or anything like that, it definitely would have been that cord specifically. I
Gotcha.
did a couple times while we're in Utah, whenever we're hiking, things like that, I did catch it on a twig and things like that, but it didn't really mess anything up. I just kind of heard a ping, as I was walking by. I was like, whoops, hit that thing, but I didn't
Right.
really think twice about it. But the biggest
Gotcha.
thing is being able to lock it up like that. Big difference, game changer. I think it's going to be.
And how do you like the doweled sight?
So far, it's actually been amazing. So with the lift, I went to the shop, I got it set up. Um, Shout out to West Houston Archery, Rich, go there, got me set up, and it was actually amazing because he put the sight on there, got everything tied in, got everything set up, squared off, and I shot one shot and it was a little high. And so I went pulled my arrow, shot another shot. It was in the literally exact same hole that one was in. And so then I moved my sight down a little bit, and then I shot two more, and they were this is just at 20 yards, and I was dead in the bullseye both times from that shot. And I think one of the things that's actually helped is also I got a new release here, and I think this has really helped me to get that surprise release in the way that it's meant to be done. This is the Carter Evolution. And so this is like, you can't fake this. You can't, I mean, it's incredibly hard to try to punch this. So I've got the Wise Choice. I've also got the B3 Ghost, and then the, what's it called? The Wise Guy from Spot Hog here. Now, this thing has really changed the game for me too, because there's no real faking it. It's like you pull back, you're on that trigger, and then you kind of just let the trigger go. Now it's like it's all up to you to execute. And the only way to really execute it is to just keep pulling backwards through the shot until it goes off.
Gotcha.
And I think that's helped a lot. And it's really gotten me used to, like, okay, you just have to accept the float. I was still always, even whenever I was shooting the thumb release, I was kind of like, I was back in here, and I was squeezing and I was squeezing, I was kind of going through it. But then once that pin would start to float over, I felt myself still trying to punch it, finishing off that travel.
Yeah.
And with this, like I say, the Carter, the mini evolution, you can't fake it. It's just going to do its thing. So
Well,
that's helped a lot as well.
I have the Carter Wise Choice, and then that True Ball. That True Ball 1.5. I like it, but it is super super hairy. So I think at the Western Hunting Expo, hopefully, I think Ultra View is going to be there. I hope, because I want to look at their new Ultra View release. I don't know if it's new or not, but their Ultra View release, their thumb button release, because that looks pretty interesting. That big old button that's on there. I want to check that out as well. But it's interesting because, even like I said, my buddy just got a bow, the one I took on pig hunting, and I'm like, he was asking me like to shoot. He came out to the property and got it all sighted in, and we shot a little bit of 3D, little targets I've got out here, and the woods and stuff, and he did great, and it was nice because not ever shooting a bow, there was no bad habits, right? So it was like the perfect scenario to kind of walk somebody
through. Got a blank slate.
Yeah, so like there was nothing to correct, and but when we went to the pig hunt, I said, all I can tell you is how like I shoot. I said I can't shoot 3D to save my life because nothing there's like no pressure, nothing's moving, and so I overthink everything. So I'm like, when you're out here, I'm like, I took the page from Whitetail Fit. I think he had in one of his videos, or he had something that said "Make decision, take action." I think it was on a hoodie, and I'm like, that is the perfect thing, for me. It like totally made sense to me. It was like, put the beat on it. It is what it is, and send it. Like, I don't overthink. Like, my stance, my feet, my shoulders, my pulling back, like none of that shit. And he said when he hammered that pig, he goes, I literally heard you say in my head, just make a decision, take action. Like, as soon as my pin was on it, he was like, it was gone. And I'm like, perfect. Like, perfect. Like, don't overthink that shit, and so that's my goal for 24 is to be a better 3D archer shooter. But it's just interesting, kind of the mindset of going into that shit. Even with that buffalo, I knew there was like a little window, there was twigs everywhere. And had that been a 3D target, I think I would have thought about every twig, like every scenario of my aerial hitting a branch.
What's the wind doing?
Yeah, like all of it, right? And it was just like, as soon as he came in, I was at full draw, bead was there, and it was gone. It was like, I don't want to overthink any of this shit,
Yep.
And that's just kind of works for me.
Yeah. Another thing, piece of gear that I got, I'm excited to get into using is these right here. I ended up getting myself very specifically from that Utah hunt some new boots. These
Nice.
are the Wyomings by Crispy, Wyoming Legends, all leather. So I mean, these things are going to last me forever, I hope. But yeah, I got some new boots because, like I say, one thing I said, I actually did pretty well with the boots I had. They were just some cheap Cabela's Instinct boots, and my feet stayed warm, which was fine. But like I say, well, I'm not. Was it the Friday morning of our elk hunt? I woke up and my boots were like frozen
Frozen.
solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think some of that was partially due to like just the synthetic materials, like I say, and just being wet and
But
cold and all that stuff. Everything was completely frozen. But
mhm.
either way, like I say, I also wanted to make something that's going to be just durable. It's going to last. Like I don't think I could put those other boots through another hunt without them falling apart. These, I feel like they're built like tanks, but they're incredibly comfortable. The fit is right, and again, made out of leather here, Italian leather. Like I feel like this is something that's going to last me years.
Are
And
those insulated or no?
these are not insulated, but I bought them a half size bigger so I can add and remove that insulation as I need. So if it requires it, if it's going to be really cold, then I'm just going to throw on a thicker pair of socks. If not, then what I can do is they fit perfectly enough to where I can just cinch the boot down tighter to make up for the fact that that now there's more space in there and they don't slide around or anything like that.
Mhm.
I learned some pretty cool techniques for tying boots too, where you can really lock your heel in place so it's not going to ride up. And so, yeah, it's pretty much. I've tried them on with some real thick, warm socks, and I've also tried them on with just some regular mid-weight socks, and it works fine with either one of them. So, a very,
Nice.
very versatile boot. There we go. Words are hard.
Yeah.
But also, the only downside I can see to them is they are pretty heavy. Um,
Mm,
they are about 2 inches, an inch or two shorter than my other boots, but weigh almost as much. So
gotcha.
they are pretty heavy, and I think it's because they're all leather. They don't have a lot of synthetic material in them. So we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
overall, they're good. They look like they're going to be good boots. I'm
Man,
excited to
I,
try
I'm
these
a
out.
I'm a crispy homer, man. Like I don't I have a ton of crispy shoes, and every one of them are just amazing. As a matter of fact, I wish that the Shimmick, I don't know, they must have had some issues, so they pulled it, and now it's back
Mm,
out again. But it's got 400 grams, but it's basically an insulated Laponia for the
mm,
most part, is exactly what it is. And so again, at Western Hunting, I'm hoping that they have some there because I want to try them on because it's a full leather, and I think where that would fit in for at least my hunting will be the upland bird, up in the panhandle back in Kansas, Nebraska.
mhm.
Like that's gonna be perfect for walking those cornfields and keeping my feet warm because it's 400 grams of thin slit that's in there.
Yeah.
But they're still super light. They're just a couple ounces heavier than the Laponies. But I don't like a stiff boot. Like I don't
Yeah.
like them. I don't have weak ankles. So I don't like the fact of I think I'm not sure if it's the brick stalls or the I forgot that goes above like the 10-inch like that does drive
Mhm.
me bananas. And then that hard 5 flex 4 flex that drives me crazy. That being said, I've got a pair of the Thors that I wore in the elk hunt, and for whatever reason man, those things are awesome. I love those boots. But right now, my favorite that I've been running almost every day is the Altitudes. I mean, they're
Mhm.
just perfect. Love those boots.
Yeah. The
So
altitudes are a lighter weight one, right?
they call it a 2.5 flex, and so they're kind of in
Mhm.
between the Colorado and the or the yeah Colorado and the Laponia. So
Mhm.
and I love them. They're super comfortable, and I've got the Colorados too. They just have that higher ankle, and I rarely wear them. But
Yeah.
again, that's just me and my foot. But what I was talking about with the insulation, when I was in Kansas, one of the guys was telling me about these inserts they look like aluminum foil, and you get them at Bass Pro. They're like $12,
Mhm.
and they're not a insert in the true sense of the word. You leave the insert in, but you cut it out to fit your current insert, and you put that
Mhm.
right on top, and it reflects your body heat. Because like I said, it's like
Mm.
tinfoil. It's like a thick tinfoil, And those things were money. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, this little piece of shit, like whatever. But for $12, I'll give it a shot. 100% worked. Totally worked. I was like, this is pretty cool. So
I like those emergency blankets or whatever. It's just basically
exactly
real thin piece of fabric or whatever that just reflects the heat back.
Yeah. And it was awesome. I'm like, this is definitely, they're staying in my duck hunting boots for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
Something else to kind of think about. But the other things I did a review. I think we were at a show when we saw that Field Torque knife.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep.
I did a review on this. So my neighbor got a couple whitetail this year, and I was like, dude, I gotta bring it over to the barn. I got this new tool. This thing, man, it 100% work. It's heavy. I wouldn't take it on an elk hunt or anything like that, but for whitetail, I imagine it'd be okay for pig too. But the video, it says you leverage this thing so your blade's on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
This is all smooth here, and you leverage it. So you've got this little rubber rant that goes over the top, and you it's like a fulcrum. And I'm telling you what, you will fly through a sternum and through a pelvis with this dude. And
nice.
and then of course it fits around the esophagus, right? When you cruise in and just zip and cut that dude. Awesome. So I finally got a chance to use it, and it's impressive for something that looks just odd,
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. You put the plastic thing on this side. When you rip the guts, you're not going to hit any internals. I mean, it's very, very well thought out. But that was kind of interesting. Very cool thing to use this year for sure.
Oh yeah, I imagine that's always the biggest thing is making field dressing quick and fast, because especially if it's cold as shit outside,
right.
Just get out of the field and go. That's like I say, being able to zip that sternum open, get up inside there, and clean everything out. That'd be huge.
Yeah,
I think you can even do that too if you're skinning them, right? You can like run that inside of that hook around the thing to make the incision, so you can start the skinning process.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yep, 100%. Yeah, there was a bunch of new stuff that I wouldn't say a bunch of stuff, but quite a few items this year that I tried. I got the I got the ambient hoodie from Sitka that I had on that elk hunt. That thing is amazing. And I got back, and all of the jackets were on sale on Sitka, and so I grabbed one of those to try on a duck hunt. It is warmer for sure than the hoodie. Man, that thing is money. It almost replaces your heavyweight hoodie. I think that's what it's designed to do, is to replace that. But I found that the heavyweight and that ambient jacket and or hoodie was like, dude, that gets you down to some pretty chilly temps, and you're still breathing. And so the ultralight one, I got the vest and the ultralight, and again, kind of for Texas weather, cold weather, I think it's going to be perfect down here for that with the heavyweight and just the ambient vest. So if anybody's considering or on the fence on kind of looking at those while they're on sale, I mean, I think it's worth the discounted price now. So thought to ponder. And then this dude is amazing. It's the Duckworth powder hoodie, and this thing is warm as shit, and it cuts wind, and I'm glad I found those guys too. So I might try a couple of their base layers out. It's all 100% made in the USA from Montana, which I love that. And the behind it is that the sheep are raised with such drastic temperatures that the wool is better for drastic temperatures. And so it's like some cool science. They figured it out, and but it's an awesome piece of gear if anybody's looking for a warm base layer hoodie, for sure. This thing is really nice. I think it's 16 degrees outside right now, and this and a light jacket, and I was fine. So,
oh yeah, it's chilly as heck out there right now, man. Everybody in Texas is kind of cringing, thinking like it's going to be Snowmageddon 2.0, right?
I know. I'm like worried about the goats. I'm out there breaking ice and filling their pen up with a bunch of hay and protein, and they eat molasses that increases their internal body temperature. So that's what keeps them warm. So they got a whole bucket full of molasses and shit out there. So
what do you goats' names? Beans and
Frank and Beans, baby. Frank and Beans. Yeah. Oh, they're my goat mowers, man. Those guys are they're rock stars, but they're funny dudes.
Yeah. Last bit of gear I got that I'm testing out this year. Like I say, I just did a video on this. My new arrow build is the crafted archery. I changed to the ultralights and a 300 spine. I just did a video where I had a 250 spine, but I just decided, I think I'm close enough, and I've got, a little light enough weight up front that I could do a 300 spine, and it's actually been working really well.
Hmm.
So I got basically 100 grains, 75 grains, which I've been trying these new Nexus inserts, and they are fantastic. Like the build quality on them is amazing. I've had some other inserts where they don't have enough cutouts inside the insert for the glue, and so like the bond is very minimal. This has like a very deep channels on the insert that goes into the arrow, so it sits in there really well. Got them really finely machined thread on collar, which is one thing I always had issues with the ethics archery system, was that I had to shave the arrow down to get the collar to fit on right, and then it didn't have any screw on function. I just had to use the field point to hold it in place, and so if the field point ever got even a little bit loose, then the little collar would rattle. And I kind of got tired of that. So, but these Nexus ones are made out of titanium, 75 grains, and they are just stout as all get out.
Nice.
As always, got the easy veins on there. Got the crafted archery night eyes on there, bright eyes, and they're very good. But yeah, so far I found 80 pounds. I'm still slinging these and perfectly fine, no issues. And I've gone down from basically 500 grains or 497 or something like that down to 447. So now I'm sure I'm cooking those arrows a hell of a lot faster coming out of 80 pounds.
Yeah. Those things are smoking.
Yeah, I bet. I haven't tried it out of the Matthews lift yet because I'm still waiting on those 80-pound mods. But I did get to shoot it with 80-pound mods whenever they first got all the bows in and everything. And it's still real easy to draw. It's definitely got more of an aggressive draw cycle than the Prime Inline 5 did. But I mean, it feels like it's going to be faster, and it's still way quieter. So it's pretty good. Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Good back wall and no dump or what?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think it's definitely a string stop, and that's new for me. I didn't think I was going to like that at first, but because I've gotten used to the Prime, which is a limb stop, and it is like once you hit that back wall, there's nothing at all there. But I think having a string stop works really well with this back tension, because you can still feel a little bit of pull, like a little bit of a bounce in the back, not much at all, but just enough so that whenever I'm pulling through the shot with this, that I could feel like I'm working, and it's not just like okay, when's it gonna happen, bam. It gives me a little bit more. I could feel this tiny bit of stretch, and then it'll go off. So
gotcha.
It works really well with that release there. So I think whenever I'm shooting my Prime, I'm still gonna keep the thumb button release here, but definitely shooting with that lift has been very beneficial. So
that's awesome. And work's been busy too. You guys back in the swing of things?
Yeah, man, I've just been keeping it up. Like I say, we've been traveling. I've been recently. I went to where the hell was I? Oh yeah, I was in Salt Lake City for a week. It was snowing pretty good out there all week, and then I went to LA for a day, and then I came back all the way here to Houston, and that's 70 degrees out there, or it was like 50 degrees in the morning and like 70, 72 during the day. It was nice.
Wow.
I'm always that guy. Like I can't wait for winter to get here, but once it gets here, I'm like, damn, I want it to be summer again. Not summer, just spring. Just spring.
Yeah.
I think really what it is I hate winter and I hate summer, but I'm in love with spring and fall, and so I just wish it was spring and fall weather all the time.
Right. But so the Western Hunting Expo is coming up. If anybody is looking at going out there, that's the weekend. Take your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. It's on Valentine's Day weekend. And Mountain Tough is doing a workout on the 15th at 6 a.m. Out there. And then the other plug for Mountain Tough is, of course, Tough Fest, which is going to be the Thursday prior to TAC in Bozeman. So it's June 13th that weekend. And so if you're into fitness and have maybe heard about Mountain Tough, maybe not heard about Mountain Tough, it's an app. Check it out. Come up to Tough Fest. It's like a great workout. So you and Chris need to come up. I think the wife is going with me this year, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. And then and then I'm going to do the workout with them on the 13th at
Okay.
in Salt Lake as well. So that'll be a fun weekend. Or I'm sorry, not 13th, the 15th of February.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
So you've been actually been posting a lot about doing the mountain tough thing. How have you been liking those workouts?
Man, for me, they're fun because I like a variety, and so it's not you're not going to the gym and doing the same, bro splits and or whatever. And so, my mentality is 100% to be able to not necessarily look fit, but to be fit. And the look fit is just that's just
The
a
side
perk
function.
of actually, yeah, it's just a perk of doing the exercises. So most of the it's an app based if nobody's heard of it, and there is a ton of different things from getting off the couch, recovering from an injury. If you're preseason, there's a weightlifting side to put some weight back on, as well as the postseason to recoup the weight you lost while you were on the mountain. There's kettlebells. There's just a ton of different things. If you don't have a gym, they've got minimal gear workouts. They have heavy pack workouts. They have body weight only workouts, which for me, traveling like you do, I'm a huge Go Ruck fan too. And so I've got a lot of their equipment and their sandbags. They're refillable. So I can throw a kettlebell, 45, 30, whatever bag that folds up, put it in my carry-on, get to my destination. You can find rocks, you can find sand, dirt, anything to fill that stupid kettlebell up and get a complete workout in, on
Yeah.
the road. And so I just think that, again, there's something for everybody in it. They've got, how to roll after you're done, how to, they got a bunch of stretching. And of course, I just had my knee surgery done. So I did the on-ramp just to kind of keep the blood flowing because I wasn't allowed to do any impact. And so, that was a great program. It's like somebody's just getting off the couch. Like, this is how you do an air squat. This is how you do a Superman. Like, it's very easy just to get you kind of moving and getting off the couch. And then the recovery one is the same. So if you're coming off a shoulder injury or knee injury or back injury, there's something in that app to kind of help you, kind of rehab on your own, essentially, instead of going to a physical therapist and doing stuff. And with very little investment. I can't remember what the annual fee is. It's a little over $200, I think. And but you have, in addition to that, it's very similar, I think, to First Form, where it's kind of a whole community. So you can email them questions. It's a live running app, so when you're working out, you can encourage each other as you're working out, or if you have a question about something, you can type it in and somebody will have an answer. So it's a very interactive as well. And so I just enjoy it. And it sometimes can be, in the beginning, a little overwhelming. You're like, oh my God, should I start with on-ramp? Should I start with, the 30 and 30? Should I start with heavy pack? Like, there is a lot of information. And so I think they actually have a YouTube on kind of where to start. And what I tend to do is I bounce around. Like, I'm probably the worst person to ask, oh my God, where do you start at? Because I just kind of get bored with one and I'll jump and I'm like, okay, so right now I'm doing the kettlebell diesel workout,
Mm-hmm.
And then the preseason one I'll start, because that's 16 weeks. So I'll start that prior to Mountain Tough, because there's a lot of cardio in that. And so I want to make sure I've got good cardio before I get to Bozeman to be able to do the Tough Fest. And so I'll morph into that one. But you could do the heavy pack workout, that gets you ready for packing out an elk. And, so there's something for everybody if you just kind of play with it and see what you want. But it's super easy to follow, and a great crew. They're Johnny on the spot if you have questions. And so it's an amazing company, I think. So,
Yeah.
but you got the new deal too, man, with First Form, right?
Yeah, so like I started getting represented by First Form, and like I say, just like Mountain Tough, they're a totally awesome company. They're definitely new to kind of the outdoor space. But whenever I was talking to these guys like TJ and stuff, that they are just like 100% all in it, you know. And I've also been talking to Jonathan at Redbeard Outdoors too, who is also sponsored by First Form Outdoors, and the community the community and the crew and stuff over there are just like top notch. They do have an app as well. It has all sorts of stuff in there from it's a little bit more geared towards, you know, like tracking your diet and things like that. It also helps you track your workouts and whatnot and what supplements you're taking and all that, so you can kind of incorporate that. But what's really cool about the Force Firm app, where it kind of differs a little bit from that, and so as far as a workout app goes, is that it also has the whenever you sign up for the app, that you get a coach, and the coach is there, and he can see, you know, basically you upload the app, you take your pictures to show, okay, this is where I'm starting at, and then you can go from there. And the coach will literally look at your, you know, what you're intaking. I mean, he can give you, you know, feedback about like, hey, this is, you know, I see you're not getting enough protein in your diet, or, you know, you need to watch how many carbs or calories you're intaking, you know, and kind of give you that personal feedback. Somebody you can reach out to, like, and specifically get that. And these are not just anybody that's on there. It's like there are nutritionists and they're like certified, you know, dietitians and all things like that. So really cool app. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff. I've just begun to start diving into it and really go into it, but it's a really cool app. And like I say, if you look at their products, they're just, you know, top tier. Like I say, I've been trying a lot of their stuff. The protein is super clean. All this stuff is processed at cold temperatures, so it doesn't oxidize. And they put so much thought into it. It's just amazing. And it's all made here in St. Louis. So,
nice. Their energy drinks are awesome. I just ordered 3 cases of that Screaming Freedom. That stuff is amazing. I love that stuff.
Yeah. It's like black crack, man. I've already got like half my case done too.
I mean, it's so good. It's like I got them right after Christmas just to try them. I'd reached out to Jonathan. I'm like, hey man, what's your favorite? You know, I'm fixing to place an order. He's like, Screaming Freedom and blue raspberry. And I'm like, okay, why don't we get a case of that? Dude, they were gone. Like all the kids came in. Like I'm glad I actually got to try one, because it was like, I come home from a duck hunting trip and they're like vanished. I'm like, yo, like, can I like have at least one sip or something around here? Like,
you got to put them under lock and key, man.
I totally should have hit him in a safe or something, man. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm curious to see kind of once you kind of get that ball rolling, because, you know, one of the things I wanted to just in this off season test with you is having you do the supplement route. And then I want to do just the food route. But full disclosure, like I'm still doing the multivitamin, the fish oil, all that stuff. But like I won't do any like protein shakes or meal replacement. You know,
you're just doing clean eating.
Just doing clean eating, and then like a 30-day, like see kind of where we're at in that deal. And so Mountain Tough has not I wouldn't call them a coach, even though you can like email them. But they have a Mountain Tough Eat journal, I guess, for lack of a better word. And it's kind of this sort of the same thing, but you're holding yourself accountable in that you pick what body type you are, what your goal is, you know, maintain, lose weight, bulk up, right? And then they used, which was a really cool free site. It's called tdee calculator.net, and you type in your age, weight, and then it kind of breaks down your body fat from, you know, the information you give it. And then if you scroll down, then it will tell you how many, if you're trying to lose weight, what your protein, fat, and carb intake, if you're trying to maintain, blah, 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 or bulk up, blah, 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 right? And so you can, it gives you a nice starting point. And then obviously everybody's different, right? So you kind of have, you tweak it a little bit here and there, but it gives you a starting point. The other portion of that is that they actually give you a 7-day breakfast, lunch, and dinner meal plan, and like what it would look like. And so you can print that off along with the grocery list. So like you literally can print off your meal prep for 7 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It has your grocery list of all of that. So like you can print it off, go to the grocery store, buy the ingredients, and then it's got everything planned out for you. Now, those are only 3 meals a day. So some of us, like myself included, I'm a snacky dude, right? So I'm probably eating closer to maybe 5 times a day. But one of the things I learned was, when you're kind of working out, when the season really kicks off, I'm doing 2 a day. So I'm doing like a HIIT program in the morning, and then I'm doing Mountain Tough in the afternoon. And so I was nowhere near hitting what my caloric intake should have been, like wasn't even remotely close. And so that was an eye opener for me that, you don't want to go by the American standard, right? If you're trying to do something. And so you're just kind of tweaking it and seeing, do I burn fats better? Do I burn carbs better? Where does that fit? But the one consistent thing was the protein was pretty consistent across the board. Just like everybody knows, you just need it for muscle. And so you just kind of play with those numbers, but it's a 30-day challenge. And so you kind of get through those 30 days and kind of see how you feel, and then play with it and tweak with those numbers and kind of go from there, which I thought was very cool. And they're okay with you doing a protein shake or a meal supplement in an emergency, right? They would rather you eat food. And so that's what I was saying. Like, it would be interesting, you do the whey protein route with Force Form. I'll do the food route and just kind of see where we end up and how much our bodies has kind of changed, what kind of impact supplements versus food, kind of a deal,
Yeah. And what I'm doing is not too different. So I'm still, like I said, doing a carnivore diet, about 90%, meat and stuff like that. But what I do is, my big thing is I'm real big on hitting my protein goal for the day. And especially, like I said, I just did a video where I'm taking, I had it here. I don't know. Here it is. This HMB supplement. That stuff's pretty insane for, helping your body metabolize and use as much protein as possible. But like I say, one of the things I'm real big on is, if pretty much the only time I use the protein stuff is whenever I know I'm going to be close to that my goal for protein, or if I'm going to be under it. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to get some protein in here quick. So that's why I say I'll use like the meat sticks or take the whey protein and stuff like that, because a lot of people don't know that whey protein is the only protein source that is 100% bioavailable. So every bit of that protein is turned into, as long as you get a good whey protein supplement,
right. Yeah.
It's basically every bit of that has gone into use to your muscles or to your brain, because your brain can actually break protein down and use that in this process called gluconeogenesis. I'm not going to go onto that, but basically it can actually break protein.
There's a link in the description.
Yeah, exactly. I've got other videos here.
It'll be up here somewhere.
right above Dean's head. There's going to be a link to a playlist.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, I've been doing. The one thing I found that was very simple. Speaking of protein, sorry to interrupt, but I've been using the frog fuel. So it's 20 grams and it's a shot. And what I like about it, one, I like the flavor. Some people don't like the flavor. It doesn't bother me. I think it's fine. But in my head, it makes more sense because it's immediately absorbed, right? Because it's a liquid. So it's that much faster that's getting in my system. And it's easy. They're like little packs, right? You turn it off. It's like the little squeezable you had like a kid, like a, it's awesome,
It's like going back to juice pack, like smashing a Capri Sun before your mom catches you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sweet thing.
Yeah. Do you track all that on MyFitnessPal, or are you doing your macros, or are you getting?
So the First Form app allows you to track all that, and so you can literally enter a meal, and you could just search for, whatever it is, and have like, bottled water, like, put your First Form or energy drinks in there. You can put your meals. Like yesterday, I just cooked for the kids, and it was I've only been eating like one meal a day. I'll have like a midday snack, and then I'll just eat a larger dinner, And so yesterday we had a pork stir fry, a sriracha pork stir fry, and I was shocked whenever I Googled it in the app, or not Googled it, I searched it in the app. And sure enough, it had sriracha pork stir fry as like a meal in there. And I selected that, and it says, well, how much did you have? And I was like, okay, well, I had 2 cups of basically the pork or whatever that was in there. And it tells you the exact breakdown of all the nutrients and everything in there. And it makes it to where it's like super easy, much like kind of like MyFitnessPal and everything there. But you can also incorporate all your First Form supplements and all that stuff in there as well. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm
Yep.
gonna do mine on MyFitnessPal. We were trying to figure that
Mhm.
last night with. I'm assuming that fresh, wild hog sausage is going to be the same consistency as whatever Jimmy Dean's or whatever is in MyFitnessPal. I have no idea. I haven't started it yet, but
Yeah,
uh,
it's like I say, I know in the first form app you can also edit it. So if you pull it up and you're like, okay, I know, like you said, you're like a wild hog thing versus like a farm raised hog thing, and you can actually edit. Okay, it was actually this much fat instead of that much
mm,
fat. So if you know specific things are a little bit less, you can kind of make those adjustments and stuff as well.
and that's where it's going to be a challenge, I think, because obviously there isn't any of that on the wrappers you get from the processor, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be a little bit of guessing work, but I think if it gets me in the ballpark, it's going to give me a lot more information than what I currently have, which is zero. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
so like it's telling me I gotta increase my protein to like 200. I think it was 289 grams a day or something. And like I said, there's no way that I was remotely hitting that
Yeah.
at all. And I think ultimately my carbs were probably a lot lower too, but I don't
Mhm.
I don't run like I don't need as many carbs, I don't think, um, to run. But I'm lighter too. I don't know if that makes a lot of difference, but I don't really get the shakes or whatever if I'm running low on
Yeah.
shit. But that could be because I graze all day long too, right? I'm not
Yeah.
really going very long between any sort of nutrition. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the long run, man, like so those macros, as long as you're hitting your protein goals, you're staying, fairly uh I wouldn't say low carb, but like carb matched for your output, right? So if you're doing
right.
hit activities, you're doing high workouts, yeah, you definitely need carbohydrates for that short, fast burn. But I think, yeah, the main thing is just tracking those big macros. Like, are you hitting enough protein? Are you getting enough fat in your diet?
Fat. Hmm.
And are your carbohydrates balanced for your output? Which is a
Yeah.
hard thing to track. It just depends
Yeah.
on what you're doing for that day, and I think that's where there's a lot of these apps uh, could add that feature in there to help
Hmm.
grow it.
Well, yeah, and I think we're pretty much a paleo, diet anyway, so I don't think it's going to be that hard. But like I said, I'm 100% certain I'm not hitting my protein levels for sure.
Yeah,
But I think as far as my eating habits with this program, it's I don't think it's going to be a lot different, to be honest with you. But it'll be
yeah,
interesting. It'll be really
heck
interesting.
yeah, man.
So
All right, man. Well, I think that's about it, man. Dude, like it's really been good talking to you, dude. Catching up
you
again. Like
too,
I said,
buddy.
2023 was a heck of a year. Like I said, there was some real bad shit that went on, but I'd say we made the best of it. We had a good year outdoors.
Yep.
I'm sure you'd agree. And
Yep.
going forward, 2024, I'm excited to use all this new gear we've got. Let's go on some hunts and let's just live our best life. Like I say, do this. Go look it up. I'm gonna put links in the description for the Mountain Tough program if you guys are interested in that. Also for First Form, the supplements we're talking about in the app we're talking about today. So check those out because it's in 2024. We want to be the best versions of ourselves. We want to be more lethal in the outdoors and just overall be better health, man. They're going to have to drag me out of this life kicking and screaming because I ain't ready to go, right?
That's what my goal is every day to get up and Satan going, shit, he's awake again.
Yeah,
So
shit, hide.
yeah, exactly. And if you guys have any questions as far as the Mountain Tough, either Instagram Lung Crusher 53, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to guide you or answer any questions from that standpoint as well too.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep defying the odds. See you next time, Predators.